We're live. What is up, everybody? It is Rob and Donald. This is Nerding Out Sports, and Donald, the worst 3-1 team in football, just became the worst 4-1 team in football, according to the critics, as the New York Giants pull off the upset of the week over in London across the pond. 4-1 is exactly right. Comeback win over the Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay Packers. An absolutely stunning performance in that second half. My goodness, where do we even begin? Do we begin with Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones? The man played his heart out once again. So many different players stepping up. Where do you want to start with this one?
With a victory dance.
A victory dance. Okay, let's let's get some proper music here. What do we got here? We got Night Driving. Let's try that out, right? Night Driving.
Okay.
See how that sounds. Hopefully it's good. Oh, it's nice. Can't really dance to that one. How about feeding the ducks? That might be a good one.
Very chill.
Pretty chill.
Too chill.
Oh yeah, a little too chill. How about daydreaming? See, does that fit the mood? Very good options here. Rock. Simple rock. It's just called rock. Welcome to Giant Opinion Sports. You came in at the right time. Because we're acting a fool because of our New York Giants. That's enough of that. Let's talk football.
Celebration time, people.
It's celebration time. And once again, big shout out to Giant Opinion Sports in the chat, catching us dancing like fools here. But that's what the Giants winning does to us. We're happy. 4-1. Who would have saw it coming? Who would have thunk it? Donald, let's talk football. Where do you want to start? What stood out to you the most, aside from the excellent coaching, of course, but what player do you want to highlight to start things off here?
Daniel Jones, an absolute warrior. Absolute warrior, man. We should all be celebrating this W. Amen, Giant Opinion Sports. Well, the first thing I want to start with before discussing individual performances, I'm going to say this now. This is our best win in 10 years. This is our best win since we last won the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Most important win in many ways, and best coached game for sure since the Tom Coughlin era. No question about it. This was an amazing win. It really is, because it's made a statement now in front of the world, in Europe, in front of the entire world. We made a statement. We're no longer the Giants that are, struggling or whatever, or carousel of coaches. This is now a supremely coached team, incredibly well coached, and this team fights so hard. I can't believe how much this team fights, and it starts with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, but the whole team fought. The defense was unbelievable in the second half. Once again, an adjustment from Wink Martindale, and they pitched a shutout in the second half against the Green Bay Packers, against the MVP of last year, against a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. And we did it without so many key guys. What an amazing achievement. So I was obviously very excited after week one. I thought this is going to be a good year, but this is beyond my wildest imaginations. 4-1, amazing. Rob?
No, you brought up the amount of people that we were out. I mean, we lost people during the game. Adoree Jackson went down. Daniel Jones was bleeding in game. Saquon Barkley left for a little bit, but it didn't matter. Everyone stepped up, the next man up, and it was I'm still kind of speechless about it. It really does say a lot about the players, but it says so much about the coaching that they continue to find ways to adjust. And the fact that we were able to move the ball the way we did with very limited resources in terms of weaponry for this offense. I mean, Saquon wasn't really running the ball incredibly well at first. And then he had that one big 40-yard run. But other than that, he was kind of held in check. The Packers did a pretty good job, but they found ways. They got Matt Breida involved a little bit. Brightwell had a touchdown. Daniel Bellinger with the rushing touchdown. Darius Slayton stepping up big. I mean, these guys just found a way to move the football, and it was looking pretty bleak. What was it, 17-3? And they got that touchdown at the end of the half. They gave up the field goal. You're down 10. All of a sudden, you're thinking, all right, well, a few things have to go right. Never would I have imagined we pitch a shutout. I mean, we gave them 2 points. We felt bad. And this team stepped up. I can't say enough about this coaching staff and about these players, man. They say all the time the Giants don't have the talent. Well, maybe they do. And this is a very short team in terms of healthy players right now. So how many key guys were not even on the field to start the day? Leonard Williams, Azeez Ojulari, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kenny Golladay. I mean, the list goes on. And thinking that next week we could have Leonard Williams back, we hopefully will have Azeez Ojulari, and we'll get Landon Collins as well into this defense. I mean, things are looking pretty up right now. We're 4-1, like just an amazing, amazing day. Great way to start the morning too.
So let's start with the defense, then we move on to the offense. So defense, few guys stood out. Moreau, really big coverage on Lazard. When the score was tied at 2020 to force 3 and out. Deep ball could easily have been caught, but Moreau did a really good job in coverage right there. That stood out to me. Dane Belton from the inside slot when we went full-on blitz in the first quarter on Aaron Rodgers to force an incompletion. They had to settle for a field goal. That was a really good play there from Dane Belton. Couple of other things. Timon Fox had a couple of big plays in the fourth quarter. One in particular. Good day for Tibbs. Tibbs had a good day. Big batted down ball on 4th and 2. Unbelievable play right there. No, that was the 3rd and 2. And it was 4th and 2. That was McKinney. Yep. That was a huge play, McKinney. My God. Tay Crowder made 1 or 2 decent plays, a huge tackle for a loss. And my man Ward, I'm a big Jihad Ward fan. He had a couple of big plays, one in the fourth quarter and then one on Dubs, a big, great wrap-up tackle for a 4-yard loss. Everybody kind of just did their thing, man. There was a bunch of guys on defense that really stepped up. Dexter Lawrence, my God, what more can we say? This guy is in an all-pro form right now.
Yeah.
I mean.
No, you're right. Giant Opinion Sports says Thibodeau gets no holding calls. Yeah, he was held all day. And yet he was still able to make an impact. So a big FU to the people that are calling him a bust for whatever reason, 3 games into his career. Once again, the same thing I said about Evan Neal. Some fans have zero patience. Thibodeau was outstanding today. And that last play, he bull rushed Bakhtiari, and he was the reason we caused that mayhem in the backfield for Rodgers. So I can't say enough about Thibodeau. He's getting better with each play. And the fact that they have to hold him pretty much every play for the second half tells me that he's doing something right, and he's only going to get better. And when we get Ojulari back, hopefully next week, he's going to do even more damage. So big shout out to Kayvon Thibodeau. Big shout out to this defense. Everyone you mentioned, Dexter Lawrence. And when Adoree Jackson went out, they immediately started attacking our defense there. I forgot who replaced Adoree Jackson, but they immediately started attacking. But I did think it was interesting that Green Bay just abandoned the run for that one drive. They went 3 and out, incompletion. We couldn't really stop the run today, and they abandoned it. And I think that was a very questionable play calling situation there for.
To be honest, though, we with Jones and Dillon, that's an elite tandem right there. That duo is one of the best duos in the entire National Football League. And we kind of held them. Obviously, they did some damage, but we certainly did pretty well with Dylan. Jones made a couple of plays, but in general, I think we didn't. It was bend but don't break. We didn't let them kill us. So I, especially in the second half, they thought they could take advantage of the fact that Adoree Jackson was out, and so they started trying to target Moreau, and Moreau did a good job. So I think that was a credit to the guys on our team. Like, everyone has this mentality: if one goes down, the other guy steps up. What about Saquon Barkley? He goes out with a stinger in his shoulder, and then in comes Brightwell, who carried 3 dudes into the end zone. I mean, that's the kind of mentality that we have. If one guy goes down, the other guy steps up and does his thing. Giant Opinion Sports, the Dex sack was half because of Thibodeau. 100%. Dexter Lawrence with the sack. Dexter Lawrence had a big game. Big game. And I was really proud of Thibodeau, man. As you say, he kind of was playing with one hand because he was getting held the entire time, but he was still doing some damage. If the officials actually did their job and actually called it a fair game, I think that you would have seen a couple of holding penalties for sure. Who stood out to you on defense?
Man, there was so many. It has to be, to me, it was Thibodeau. As good as Dexter Lawrence was, I mean, O'Shane had a sack as well. Jihad Ward played so well. Adoree Jackson was playing well before he went down, but Thibodeau, he was getting zero credit from a lot of people. And it's just like, because he's not showing up on the stat sheet in terms of sacks yet, which I would love him to have at least one at this point, don't get me wrong, but this is the same thing they complained about with Leonard Williams. Like, oh, he gets no sacks, but they ignore what he brings to the table, and Thibodeau is doing that right now. And it's only a matter of time before he starts to get a couple, because he was close. The Giants were bringing pressure, and he had a lot to do with it. And I just love the way he played because, yeah, there was a point in the game where he looked like he was struggling because he was getting just completely stopped by tight ends on blocks, right? But right after that, he adjusted. And it's like whatever Wink had the team do, he just went the extra mile, and he just stepped up. He was so good in the second half. I think, considering the players we were down and then losing our best member of the secondary outside of McKinney and Adoree Jackson, we still were able to keep Aaron Rodgers off the board. That says something about this defense. That says something about this coaching. And Jalen Smith, he looked really good as well.
Great point. Jalen Smith flashed more than a few times. He had a great –
different guys are stepping up. Yeah. Wink's got these guys playing at another level, and I didn't think they would be this good, but they're really surprising me. And this is not at full strength. We talked about it already earlier. We're going to be getting some guys back, and we're going to get Landon Collins into this mix. So I'm very excited about what we could see next week, but keeping it on this week, I can't big tip of the cap once again to Wink and to everybody on this defense. They continue to step up.
And moving on to the offense, Saquon Barkley with another special day. I mean, the way that he started when he took the wild cut and then he went like 30, 40 yards. That's what changed the game. We finally got a little bit of breathing room because they were keying up on him. They brought the house on him, and they didn't respect Daniel Jones' ability to find anybody. And Daniel Jones once again proved that he has the metal in these tough spots. I mean, my God, I was at halftime, obviously 20-10. We did really well scoring, and a lot of it was Saquon with a big play, and then the double reverse was such an amazing creative play call to Bellinger. That was really, really cool. I can't say enough about Kafka. Kafka is turning water into wine with this offensive scheme. Some incredible plays. So the Wildcat to Saquon a couple times. The double reverse to Bellinger. Bellinger fake throwing it, and then he ran it all the way himself. Incredible touchdown. Daniel Jones, when Saquon went down, that's when he showed up, and that was one of his best drives of his career. Considering that he only really had like one receiver to throw to, is Darius Slayton, and then our all superstar running back was out. He had to do it himself, and really good play calling from Kafka. A lot of rollouts, and Daniel Jones made the smart play every single time. He also showed off his legs again, considering the fact that he was playing with partially one leg. He was making incredible runs, and he was going head first into people. He was diving, he was charging, he played with so much heart, man. Blood was pouring out of his hand, didn't stop him. He was that drive to give us the lead in the fourth quarter was all DJ. Bellinger was big. It was big too. A lot of guys stepped up. Saquon Barkley. Another thing I want to say. What about when Jones found him, and then he did that incredible play like it was a PlayStation. That move and the ankle breaker move, and he was away. Amazing stuff. And shout out to Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton balled out, man. He really did. He was wide receiver 1 out there.
Yep, he really did. And I want to bring in our guest here, Alex, Big Blue in the Bronx. I'm going to get that banner off because you were completely covered up by the score there. Alex, while I do that, why don't you give us your thoughts? We'll get rid of that real quick. Give us your thoughts about the 4-1, worst 4-1 team in football, the New York Football Giants.
I'm going to say this, and I'm lucky that Rob's not monetized, but I'm going to say this. Watch your ears, kids. Put some fucking respect on the Giants' name.
Absolutely.
I'm floored. Now, Donald, with respect to Donald, he did have on the Nerding Out Sports Show the Giants winning, but most of the Giants fan base, I guess, didn't, because you know what? If you're not in the moment as a Giants fan appreciating this, then you must be working towards some sort of narrative or something, or you just might be miserable. I saw people this morning on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, this game's going to be a blowout." Like in the middle of the game, like the first quarter, second quarter, this game's going to be a blowout. And then it was halftime, and I was literally saying to my brother, it was 20-10. I was like, "This game ain't over. We still got a chance." And guess what? And I literally said to Donald in the text, I was talking about my halftime thoughts. I'm like, let's win this fucking game. And guess what? What did we do? We won the game.
You're right. I mean, when you text me that, I was thinking, wow, that's ambitious, because it was 20-10, and we were only kind of okay. But I was really proud of our first half performance generally because of how undermanned we were, that we were competitive. But the second half blew me away completely. That was an unbelievable performance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys talked about it already, but the Giants, the last drive, had Nick McLeod and Justin Lane as corners. That's it. And Darnay Holmes. Fabian Moreau injured. And Adoree Jackson injured. And I've seen people, and I sent it to Donald as I was talking about, I've seen people saying, well, it's one specific person, because it was reactionary. Oh, Wink is overrated. Wink is a fraud. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then we get later in the game, we get 2 sacks. We stop Aaron Rodgers, right? They don't score any points. The big red zone stop at the end of the game. I mean, once again, if you're not living in the moment as a New York Giants fan and appreciating this, I don't know, what you're doing, to be honest with you. And I know earlier in the week, I did see some. Now, I'm obviously tempering some expectations. I saw some Jones disrespect. Now, I'm not going to call it hating. I'm just going to call it disrespect. And, Giants Facebook's probably the worst thing that was invented, because the guy was saying, oh, our O-line, defense, and running backs carrying the team. I'm like, our O-line? Outside of the Bears game, they've been pretty horrible. And, Evan Neal struggling, whatever. And then he's like, oh, you're missing the point. I'm like, what receivers does he have to throw to? So everything washes away and whatnot. But at the end of the day, and I know I have to say this because, some people say, oh, you're Jones life or whatever. Listen, he may not be here next year, but I thought he did what he needed to do to win this game. And let me say something else. You look at Detroit the last few weeks with Jared Goff. You take a look at Carson Wentz today. He threw for over 350 passing yards against the Titans. Did they win the game? No.
Nope.
I will take Daniel Jones' 227 passing yards, playing a little bit better than Aaron Rodgers and fighting, rather than someone who threw for 300 yards and didn't win the game.
That's a great point. And you talked about it earlier, a few shows back about Jones's numbers in the clutch, like in crunch time, how good he's been. He did it once again. And his numbers don't pop out at you like, wow, he's going to go win an award for player of the week. But he's doing the things with the lack of talent that he has to throw the football to. The fact that he was able to make something out of nothing, or as Donald said, make wine out of water.
Turn water into wine.
There it is, yeah. He turned water into wine. He's making things happen, and at the big moments, too. Like, the fact that we put up 27 points against Green Bay, I would have never thunk it. I thought we'd get 17 max, and we put up 27. So Daniel Jones, you once again can't complain about a single thing he did today, because we said it a few shows ago that it's almost impossible to judge him this year because of everything that's happened. The offensive line was terrible against Dallas. How can you blame him for that? He's got no receivers. He's got one guy as his weapon right now. And here he is with down to the bottom of the barrel in terms of wide receivers. And Darius Slayton steps up. First time he stepped up since his rookie season, making things happen with nobody to throw the football to. And Daniel Jones he played his heart out once again. And when it mattered most, he came through. And nobody fell on routes this time around, like what happened against Dallas. Nobody fell. Players were just doing what they had to do. They kept it pretty simple, but when they had to get creative, they did. And it was enough to get the W. And I live in the moment, like you said, Alex. We're 4-1. No one could have saw this coming.
Kafka and Dable's play calling, especially in that drive when Saquon was out, was masterful and semi-miraculous. They just created ways in which to find simple routes for guys like David Sills and Slayton and Bellinger and Meyer, whatever. We just found the dudes, and it was all because of nice rollouts from Daniel Jones. And also Daniel Jones was running so freaking hard out there, man. Considering his injury, that was really brave and really ballsy. And again, cut on his hand. Didn't seem to stop him, and he was putting perfect balls, man. A couple of perfect throws to Slayton in the clutch. A couple of perfect throws. One perfect throw to Saquon. Big throw to David Sills on the goal line to force a goal line play, and then he just did his thing, man. And he stepped up. So the guy has got unbelievable heart. He really does. And Saquon Barkley said that after the game. He's like, he's our leader, and we follow him. So certainly very, very proud of Daniel Jones. This was his best performance, in my opinion. Maybe not on the stat sheet, but it was certainly our biggest win in 10 years, and it's obviously biggest win in Daniel Jones' career to this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you brought up some really good points there, Donald, about how Saquon Barkley went out of the game. And and I'm not trying to take anything away from Saquon Barkley. He's been a stud this season. He's been one of our best, if not our best player. But you take a look at the first half, right? The running game did not get going, and we were getting like 3-4 yard pickups, except from the Breida block, which was the Wildcat. And that was when Saquon Barkley went off for his big run. Once again, I'm not taking anything away from him. But the running game, and once again, with my point reiterated, I just thought that Saquon Barkley wasn't a big enough factor until later in the game, but Daniel Jones was getting that offense down the field. When what was I going to say? That 90-play drive, big part of it was with Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell. I think that was the one where we tied the game. He had those two to work with. He had Slayton at wide receiver. It wasn't the running game. Trust me, guys. It wasn't the running game that got them 90 yards down the field. It was Daniel Jones.
He really was very brave. Really brave.
Right. And I said in the pregame that I want to see them use Breida and Brightwell a little bit more this week. And they did when they had to. They weren't featured a lot, but when they had to use them, they used them, and they both stepped up. Brightwell, as Donald said earlier, carrying 3 people into the end zone with them. I mean, whoever steps up, the next man up mentality, you got to step up in your role, and they're all doing it so far. Hats off to everybody. Hats off to the coach.
Saquon gave Brightwell a big hug when he scored that touchdown, which just shows how much unity and chemistry that there is in this locker room. Everyone's fighting for each other. And it starts with Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll is, first of all, Coach of the Year. I don't care what happens the rest of the way. He's Coach of the Year. What he's done to turn this thing around is miraculous. The coaching staff that he and Shane have put together, phenomenal. Kafka and Martindale, incredible. And also the assistant coaches as well are all doing really good jobs. But Brian Daboll, it starts with him, man. And the first big call from him was not to be the offensive play caller and to give that job to Kafka. And it was the right call. It was the right call because Kafka has done an amazing job. As I already mentioned, that incredible end around double reverse to Bellinger for the score. No one saw that coming. You know, all the Wildcats for Saquon. Big blocks from, as we've already mentioned. One was from Brightwell, was a big block for Saquon to score. The other, Breda to set up Saquon's big run. These are the creativity in these play calling is unbelievable. And there's some really nice route running as well. Darius Slayton, he ran perfect routes today. And apart from one throw in the first quarter where he threw behind him and maybe he could have turned around, ever since then he was actually picture perfect as a receiver. Ran perfect routes, showed perfect hands, made every play that was asked of him. So you have to give a lot of credit to him considering he was ostracized and out of the picture in the wide receiver core going into the start of this year. And he's never complained. He's never feigned injury. He's not had one hamstring injury after another.
Not one social media post.
Or a sore butthole or whatever. He fought his way into the reckoning, and he's now our wide receiver 1. And he stepped up in a big, big moment. As I say, man, Kadarius Toney's nowhere to be found. He didn't even travel with the team, which really speaks to what's going on. He did not travel with the team, but Darius Slayton, man, he really stepped up. He was, wide receiver 5 going into there was even questions whether he was going to be cut or traded. And he had our biggest wide receiver game of the year. So
he was inactive week 1.
He was inactive. Great point.
He was inactive. Giant Opinion Sports here says the Eagles defense look like they don't know how to tackle. Saquon is going to eat in both Philly games. I certainly hope so, but we don't play them till very late in the season. I'm very puzzled.
Week 18, which is the last game, that's in Philly, which is going to be automatically tough. And then we play them after the Washington game, which I think that date is December 11th. So that's like week 12, 13-ish.
Very strange scheduling.
Very strange. But what was I going to say? I have a funny nickname for Marcus Johnson. Maybe to you guys, you might agree, maybe disagree. Walmart Cordero Patterson.
I like it.
Gave him the great value tag.
But he definitely should be playing over David Sills. I think he has more of a skill set. But going to
made a nice catch, made a nice play, a couple of decent plays.
A couple of decent plays. I mean, even when the guys do come back, like if Wandale comes back next week, if some of these other guys come back, I still think that Darius Slayton should be on the field no matter what because he's earned it. He stayed patient. He hasn't said anything. Even in week 1 when people in the media was questioning him about, oh, well, what about this? What about that? And he was basically blocking off those questions in a funny way. He's like, yeah, Jeffrey Simmons is a pretty good defensive tackle. Like he was being sarcastic. He wasn't talking about his role. And you know what? He's stepped up to the value. He's a 5th-round pick, and he's playing like one. And I think he's over-exceeding those expectations once again. But it's up to him to stay in the right mental state, Jones to give the ball to him, and the offense staff to really put him in the game plan.
Well, you're right. And there was that third down play where he fought for the extra yardage that set up the first touchdown. That was impressive because I thought it was going to be short. First of all, the throw by DJ, I was very upset. I wasn't upset. I was like holding my breath. I'm like, it's going to get picked. I don't know how he got it to Slayton. Slayton caught it. Tough catch, first of all. And then he fights out of two different guys to pick up the extra 2-3 yards, pick up the first down. That's hard for a guy that was inactive week 1, bottom of the depth chart week 2. And here he is, wide receiver 1, making big plays. Like you guys already said, never complain. Nothing about him that speaks to being a bad teammate, like he wants to leave. All the questions, he's going to get cut, he's going to get traded. And he stepped up in against our toughest opponent so far outside of the Cowboys when we absolutely needed him to step up. And man, oh man, he stepped up. Big day for Slayton, and hopefully we keep feeding him week after week when we get a little bit more healthy. He's got to stay at the top of that depth chart because he's already done more in one game than Galladay has done in the season and a half.
That career as a Giant. As a Giant, it's Slayton right there. Absolutely, I've played him. There you go, Kenny Galladay. When we needed him, we targeted him. He dropped the ball twice, and then went off the field, and that was it. When we need Kadarius Toney, he doesn't even reach the field. Oh, one hamstring injury, another hamstring injury, something else. Something's going on.
Quarterback, that's why he was out.
And then he doesn't even travel with the team. And considering we do have injured dudes traveling with the team, and we even had Landon Collins traveling with the team, and he wasn't even playing. It really speaks a lot to what's going on with Kadarius Toney, man. There's more to this than meets the eye. It's more than just injuries. Coaching staff is done with him. So the fact that when we need him, he doesn't turn up, but when we need Darius Slayton, he balls out. So as you say, this next man up mentality, I can't say enough about the mentality in this team. Also, Daniel Jones, man. Now, Aaron Rodgers has had the written-in excuse. I don't have Devontae Adams, and he struggled in week 1. He couldn't really throw a ball to anybody because nobody was catching the ball, and he's got Lazard and he's got Dobbs and stuff. They're pretty good receivers, but you could clearly see that he's really missing Devontae Adams. He's missing his man. And it's a written excuse. I'm not even saying that Rodgers is putting in this excuse, but the media has. Mm-hmm. What about Daniel Jones? He's got no one to throw to. Absolutely no one to. He's got practice squad guys. He's got Darius Slayton, who is supposed to be cut or traded. And our star receiver is never on the field, and he's always dropping the ball or he's always hurt in Galladay. So it really says a lot about Daniel Jones that he never makes any excuses. He does whatever it takes to try and win on the day. So I'm growing an immense amount of respect for Jones week on week this year.
Yeah, I'm going to put in a two-way go to what you just said. There's very good points here. So I'm going to get off the more negative one is this kind of feels like the Saints game for us last year. Would you guys say so? Now, What I said after that Saints game is this. Listen, he didn't play with all of his weapons, but from this day forward, he has to at least play to a solid level. Like, he can't be missing throws and all this other stuff. So that needs to happen. That's A. B, I'm living more in the present times, and I'll explain what I'm thinking. Russell Wilson has looked like absolute garbage this season. You want to talk about the head coach, you want to talk about this thing and the other, whatever. Daniel Jones has had 2 really bad head coaches, one after the next. Offensive game plans that really haven't helped him. And the receivers, I mean, look at the receiver room he has now and look at the Broncos receiving room. I mean, I would take the Broncos receiving room every single day.
Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, for God's sake. And Jerry Jeudy is doing nothing this year because Russell Wilson can't find him. It's unbelievable.
KJ Hamler in the back of the end zone. We all know that.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways to that argument. And people say, oh, well, Russell should get more respect because he's a Super Bowl champion and Daniel Jones is not established in this league. But we're talking about right now, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah. No, he's done nothing wrong. there isn't a single point in this season where you can say Daniel Jones is at fault. Maybe the interception in week 1. Well, yeah, definitely the interception in week 1. But other than that, like you can't pin the Cowboys' loss on him.
Nope.
And even if we lost today, like let's say they pull off the miraculous Hail Mary at the end of the game, what are people going to say? Daniel Jones cost us that game. How? He's done nothing wrong outside of that week 1 interception. And since then, he's been just fine. No weapons. Offensive line is
no turnovers.
Yeah, no turnovers. That's a big thing. 0 turnovers. The offensive line was getting him nearly murdered against Dallas, and he didn't waver. So he had that pick, but that was because Sills fell. But he's doing everything that's been asked of him, and he's the reason why we're winning games. He's not the reason why we're losing games. He's the reason that we're winning games. He's having some help, of course, with Saquon and the great leg of Graham Gano and the defense stepping up, but he is leading us to these drives. He's not showing up in the stat sheet. He doesn't have the touchdowns to show it. He has got the 2 rushing touchdowns last week, but my goodness, he is the reason we won this game today. It's simple.
And Dable credited him unsolicited, saying, "I'm glad he's our quarterback." Jones is making a case for himself very early, but he's making a case for himself to possibly remain here at least another year. With performances like this, then it really opens up that avenue. We're 4-1. It's amazing. It really is. And it's really good because, they've gotten no respect from the media. And I love that because every single journalist, bar none, had the Packers winning and winning by more than a score. And there's a couple of journalists that had it as a blowout for the Packers. But not one of them went for the Giants. It was all meant to be a complete whitewash. And we already had the written in narratives and how the Giants were being disrespected, they're the worst 3-1 team, which I always found such a pointless argument. Like, what does that even mean? Like, why can't you just give them credit for the fact that they're out coaching their talent level, or the fact that Saquon Barkley is back from injury and he's playing like Superman, for God's sake? I mean, you can give these guys some frickin' credit, even if they're not the prettiest frickin' 3-1 team in the world. They are fighting so frickin' hard. And Brian Dable is at the heart of it, man. Like, you saw him at the end of the game where he was just going, "Come on, let's go." That's just basically what I was doing. I was running around my house like a man possessed, screaming and jumping around. Like, I've never been this happy. It's been like 10 years since I've been this happy.
It's giving us an identity, man. Right? It's giving us an identity because did Joe Judge make those? He wasn't dancing in the locker room. He wasn't fist pumping and all that. He was just very stoic. Camp. Yeah, it was boot camp. And here's Dable basically being a fan after every win. And he's just losing his mind because no one gave us a shot. I didn't think we were going to win. I'm not going to deny myself. I said we were going to lose this game. And I went into this game saying, just fight. Let's see who steps up because we are severely outmanned in this game. And big shout out to TD in the chat. He says, "Let's go, G-Men. Love what I saw today." You are spot on. Loved what I saw today. And everyone stepped up and they shocked everyone, shocked the world. And I said in the pregame, maybe they're taking this personally. They said, it's us against the world here. Don't want to give us respect? Fine. We'll give you a reason to respect us. Like you said, when you
Alex, I liked your tweet to Nick Wright. Your tweet to Nicky Wright was pretty good. What the hell tweet was that from Wright when Nick Wright said, "Oh, the Giants would be a good team if they didn't have a backup quarterback playing for them"?
See, and this is why we're in this business, right? These people, especially from Fox Sports, don't watch these games. Colin Cowherd, after the Week 3 game against the Cowboys, was like, "Oh, Brian Dable's limitations is Daniel Jones." And then after this game, Nick Wright was talking. Actually, I'm pretty sure he said the Giants would lose to the Panthers in Week 2. And I'm like, they're going to beat the Panthers. Guess what? I was right on that. And guess what? The team won. So that's even better. And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, well, the Giants would be more of an exciting team if they had a quarterback and all this stuff." I'm like, A, they won the game. No, not that I tweeted the point A, that because they won the game because of Daniel Jones and other reasons. And I'm like, dude, you've been pretty much hating on this team for the past how many years? Shut the fuck up. eat your crow and stand off to the side.
That's right. And his tweet today was pretty disgraceful. Oh, this team could be good if their career backup quarterback, if they had a better quarterback than their career backup quarterback in Daniel Jones. So he's already written Daniel Jones' resume for him and future for him, which is greatly unfair because none of us know what's going to happen. We don't, right? And I am really happy to be proven wrong about Daniel Jones because I wrote him off going into this year. I think, but what's clear is that he is being really well coached. And what was also clear in these previous years was that we would have won a bunch of games had he not turned the ball over a ton of times. Now he's cleaned that all up. He's not turning the ball over, and guess what? We're winning games. So it does say something about where we're headed, that if you have a quarterback who's just getting the ball, smart decisions, not doing anything stupid, smart rollouts, whatever, just play to his strengths, this team will find a way to win if Saquon Barkley balls out. And so that's what's definitely new about this team this year. So, cutting out the turnovers, and he's looking like a better quarterback. Now, I don't know what the future holds for him, but it's very unfair for the media to already write his obituary as a starting quarterback. That's very, very unfair because he outplayed Aaron Rodgers today, people, and that doesn't happen by accident.
Mm-hmm. This is what I despise about the media, because look at what Dallas is doing with Cooper Rush, and it's like, wow, they're winning games with a backup quarterback. And I know they beat us, but we're not supposed to be 4-1. And they're making excuses why we should, why we're 4-1. Well, because Tennessee, you guys got lucky with the 2-point conversion. Oh, well, Carolina didn't have so-and-so, whatever. Or Baker Mayfield didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball. Whatever they want to say about that. They made excuses for us beating the Bears. They making excuses for us beating the Packers. What do they have to do for them to just say, you know what? Maybe the Giants aren't a serious contender yet, but they're on their way. I mean, you have to at least say that. Brian Dable, Wink Martindale, Mike Kafka, this entire coaching staff has these guys playing far above their expectations.
Well, credit to the announcer in this game. He said that the Giants have gone from NFC least to the NFC beast. And I like that. That was pretty cool. So finally we got one bit of credit there. TD, Daniel looks so much more comfortable behind center, but the thing is his confidence. Yeah, he's a totally different player this year. He carries himself each game. 100% is confidence. You can see that the team have rallied around him. And it was when he came out with one leg last week and helped the team find a way, then that changed a lot of things. And I know that the locker room was like, wow, this guy is a warrior. And he's carried that forward. And he's also getting, I think he's getting a lot of confidence from the coaching staff, the way he's being coached, a nice system, and it's working really well for him.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it yet. There's a video of the Giants in the locker room just dancing, having a great time. Mm-hmm. Winks in the video. He's just like, hey, he's just kind of there like, yep.
I think this Jihad Ward's TikTok, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it might have been Instagram Live, but yeah, they're having a great time. We haven't seen this team like doing this since we had Odell. Everyone said Odell was this bad guy for the locker room, but everyone loved Odell Beckham, right? And he had these guys having some fun. And this team's having fun.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok of Thibodeau as well. Thibodeau was going to town in the locker room.
Yeah, they're having a good time. It's a brotherhood, man. This is what you want to see. So that's why the word culture, everyone says, when Gettleman brought it up, we're trying to build a culture here. It never happened, all right? This, for the first time in a while, you can say it's real. There is a culture being built here with the New York Giants. And it's not just Dable wanting to be everybody's friend, but he's tough on them when he needs to be, but he's got these guys fighting. And you know what? You just played your asses off. You had to travel across the freaking world to go play a really good football team, and you beat them. Go have some fun, and we'll get right back to work when we get back home. It's you love to see it. Alex, you got your hand up, so You got something to say here.
Yes, winning culture. TD says, I tweeted this out a few weeks ago, and Papa Belton actually liked my tweet, and along with a few others. When was the last time we saw a Giants GM on the sidelines? When was the last time we saw a Giants GM in the locker room after every win? I mean, you see it. They haven't come out with the video yet for the not the press conference, but the post game speech from Brian Dable. I bet you Joe Shane's going to be in it. I mean, before he went to the stands and was pumping up the fans after the win, he hugged Joe Shane. So that just tells you these two were in lockstep, and that it's all around love for this culture and that they're trying to win. And also another thing as well. Daniel Jones, obviously, last week was trying to get back in the game with his ankle injury. And obviously, he made it to this week, despite all the people saying, well, it's going to be Davis Webb, whatever. And then you had Saquon, right? The shoulder injury. And he was he was fighting the trainers, basically, like he wanted to get on that field. And then once he was checked and done, all that stuff in the locker room, he came sprinting out. So this tells you, they wouldn't have done that stuff in the past.
And then he made that insane ankle breaker play where he destroyed the Packers defensive back, and then he was way down the sidelines. Saquon then scores the touchdown, which was the go-ahead touchdown and basically won us the game. That's it. He came back from injury doing that. So the man the heart in this team is unbelievable. It really is. And you're right. These guys are fighting to get back on the field. And to be fair, I had a feeling that Daniel Jones was going to play this week. I mean, I said it on our show, the Boys in the Big Apple podcast. I actually thought he was gonna play. I just think that this guy is showing that he doesn't want to miss any time. He wants to be there for his team, and he's fighting. So there's a couple of things. Dane Belton, I was really proud of in the first quarter where he did so well in that full-on blitz, and he stopped Aaron Rodgers. That changed how things could have gone in the first quarter because we were really up against it at that point. But that's what it was. It was a day for the rookies. So obviously, Timon Fox had a couple of really good plays. Our rookie stepped up. Thibodeau was really, really good. Who stood out to you, Alex, on defense overall, apart from Dexter Lawrence, because that's the obvious.
Well, Dexter Lawrence is, I know we've been preaching for the last year and a half about Andrew Thomas's respect. We got to start getting Dexter Lawrence some respect too.
Oh yeah.
Along the lines of like Kenny Clark and all that. But anyway, in terms of the defense, first of all, I believe that McKinney penalty was bogus. That was a flop. 100% acting job, so I don't believe that was a penalty. Honestly, no one too much in particular stood out to me. I mean, Fabian Moreau did make a few plays before he went out of the game. Hopefully he's not injured too much. I thought Jalen Smith was Jalen Smith, and I think it's only going to get better when Landon Collins potentially plays next week against a heavy run team in the Ravens. So there's that. And one thing I know you asked about defense, Donald, that I do want to add is I kept saying on Twitter, I kept saying it in like Giants group chats and all this other stuff. At halftime, I said, let's get away from the running game a little bit, start running more play action. And something Jones struggled with, especially last year and this year to start as well, is he could not read the defense and find guys open when he was under center play action. You saw that progress through this game. So he's clearly improving. And you're going to need that not only this week, but you're going to need it next week against the 32nd defense in the Ravens. So let's take advantage of that next week. But yeah, Jalen Smith was one of the guys that stood out to me.
Let's go through our predictions. And this is an opportunity for me to take some praise here because I did say the Giants were going to win. So I had 23-20 Giants. I basically got the Packers score right. The safety was non-consequential. So, yeah, I'm really pleased I got that one right. Alex, you had 24-13 Packers. Rob, you had 24-17 Packers. So I will take the win there.
I was wrong.
I know somebody got something right on the first touchdown. Somebody said Bellinger on this panel.
You were getting to the next one. So, yeah, we had the first touchdown. Rob, you had Breda. Alex, you had Saquon Barkley. I had Bellinger. So, I am.
This is all for Donald just to, bask in the glory.
This is good. But then things start going more your favor. Sacks. Alex, you had 2. I had 3. Rob had 4. Alex takes the win there. Saquon yardage. Rob, you had 130. Alex, you had 145. I had 155. So what was the total? I believe Rob's the closest. Am I right?
He had 106 in total. 70 on the ground, 36 receiving. So I'll take the
Rob gets the W there. Good job. Turnover. We didn't get any turnovers. So
still waiting for a pick.
We're still waiting on a turnover. That would be really
this close. We were this close.
Next week.
I mean, the turnover on downs, if you want to count as a turnover, I'd give Thibodeau / McKinney credit for their swatting down on those for those 3rd and 4th and 2s plays. So let's count them as turnovers.
Poor Thibodeau got hit in the head with that pass by Rodgers, because he was so close. So it didn't hit his hand. Everyone's like, "Oh, he knocked it out." Like, no, Rodgers just hit him in the helmet. It was hilarious watching it in slow motion. I was like, "Oh my God, he's trying to kill him."
Whatever it takes. Was there something a little bit weird with the way that the officials screwed around with the game clock when we were?
I don't know what that was at the end of the game.
The victory formation, because I swear to God, when Daniel Jones kneeled at the 1 minute mark, the clock did not move.
It didn't. I don't know what happened. It did not move. I'm like, what's going on here?
What is going on? Why are we there was such a screw up that I don't even think we needed to punt. I think we could have punted as time expired. I think that could have worked out, but the officials screwed it up to the point where we had to take an unnecessary safety and then and give the Packers one last chance to score. It looked a little bit.
Fishy.
I'm not going to say. Well, yeah, I'm going to say it. I thought the officiating was completely slanted in favor of the Packers the entire game. I don't think we go 1-2.
Look, what did you say when you after the game? You texted me. The Giants beat the Packers and the refs. And you know what? How many missed holding calls on Thibodeau? Like 7. So they did beat the refs today.
He was playing with one hand out there. He wasn't allowed to get near Aaron Rodgers. And then what about the pass interference call, which, if anything, was a no call because both of them were handsy. And if anything, it could have been an offensive pass interference because one thing is for sure, it was not defensive pass interference.
He should be flagged for bad acting.
He flopped because the ball was like 2 feet over his head, and then he was like, "I'm never catching that," and he fell over and he got a call. So I thought that was a bad one. What about the weird illegal formation penalty when we were just about to score to take the lead, and then the officials were like, "Oh no, we can't have that," and then they called a weird move on Thomas, and Dable was going absolutely insane. He looked like he was ready to fight.
I could literally read his lips.
I thought he was gonna bodyboard the official.
I could literally read his lips. He said, "What the fuck?" And you know what? Now you talk about Thomas. There's one thing that I picked up on that Breida block, as well as that Wildcat. I don't know why I say Breida block, but it was really that Wildcat that spurred Saquon in the first half.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that? Yeah, if you have Feliciano snapping. Next to him was Bredesen. Next to him was Bellinger. So Thomas was actually playing on Neal's side.
Right. I did not know that. That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Yep. They did that once, I think, in the Seahawks game when Wayne Gallman had his big run. But I just thought, you know what? Let me throw out this nugget.
That's really creative, but that wasn't even a legal formation. There was nothing wrong with what we did.
Wrong.
There was nothing wrong with it at all. Like the tight end wasn't out of place. There was nobody moving when they didn't need to. There was nothing wrong with that call, and the officials had to intervene. But we did get lucky because then the Packers slammed Slayton to the ground, wasn't it? And then we managed to get a first and goal anyway. But that could have changed the game. The officials did everything they possibly could to help their MVP. But
I think the officials had the Giants plus 8.5. So
yeah, I don't know what they had, man, but they were like, oh no, the Giants are in the victory formation. We need to try and find one last play for Aaron Rodgers. So the clock didn't move. It was so odd because they only had 2 timeouts left with a minute 10 remaining.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no genius, but I'm pretty sure that the way that it transpired with us having to take a safety in our own 1 yard line and then all this nonsense wouldn't needed to have happened if the officials called that fair. I'm pretty sure. But I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing.
No, I saw it. It was weird because I knew that they were going to at least get the ball back because the way the clock was, I'm like, they're going to have a few ticks. Everyone was kind of going, hey, we're 4-1, we're 4-1. I'm like, it's not over yet because I've seen Aaron Rodgers hit the Hail Mary against us before.
Mm-hmm.
That image is still engraved in my memory, unfortunately. But the way the clock wasn't moving, I was like, there should be less time than what they have right now.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it didn't come back to bite us in the ass. But no, like I said already before, your text was so perfectly put. We beat the Packers and the refs today. And so take that, haters. Keyshawn Johnson, who guaranteed the Giants were going to lose this game and the next 3. We're going to lose to the Ravens. We're going to lose to whoever the heck we play. We're going to lose to Jacksonville. We're going to lose to Seattle, guaranteeing that the Giants were going to lose their next 4 games, starting with this one today. So you can suck it. And the rest of the league that doesn't want to give us credit, you all can suck it because tomorrow night is the DX anniversary, D-Generation X, if there are any wrestling fans in here. So a big DX chop. The entire haters of the New York Giants, you can all suck it. We're 4-1. Give us credit if you don't want to. I don't care because it's us against the world. Guys, I hope you agree with me on that one.
I agree. Listen, down the line, I mean, I said this in my preview pod. Giants need to go 2-2 in the next 4 games. And I think that's definitely achievable, possibly 3-1. 4-0, I'm not going to say yet because I kind of was wrong about that. First 4 games this season. That's okay. But if we win enough games down the line, I mean, got to start talking about playoffs at some point.
Which would put us out of the conversation for quarterback in the draft. So, if we make the playoffs, Daniel Jones is doing something right, enough for them to keep him around for 1 more year. And that would mean this offense is pretty well gelled to say Jones is the guy, at least for 1 more season.
Yeah.
We keep winning. We're not going to be in a position to draft a C.J. Stroud or even a Will Levis or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about, and I'm not going to go too much into depth about next year, but you do bring up some good points. Like, you're not going to trade back in the first round for a quarterback. That's just probably not going to happen if we make the playoffs. Even if, they still think they want a quarterback. Now, you could use those assets somewhere else. We need wide receiver like none other position. You could still use some interior offensive line. Tight end, maybe add an extra body. It looks really good right now, surprisingly. Looks better than our wide receiver core. I mean, hell, after this game also, you might need to add an extra corner. So some of those assets, I don't know how many. I think we have the standard 7 picks next year. But, use it on those positions. Use it on those positions because as of right now, like the only wide receiver I see coming back next year is Wandale. Maybe Richie James. But that's about it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Go ahead, Donald.
Could you imagine can you imagine how good this team's going to be when Joe Shane and Dave will get their guys?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're doing this with a patchwork offense, with mixing and matching, and they're 4-1 against some pretty legit teams. One was against the Titans, legit. Packers, freaking MVP quarterback. There's no excuses now. You can't say that the Giants are fluking their way through now. This was not exactly the easiest schedule, and the Giants have been right there in every single game and won 4 out of 5 of them. So imagine how good this is going to be when their personnel that they really want, in the draft and then free agency, come in. This team is very much in the ascendancy. And hey, Daniel Jones has gone from like maybe a 10% chance of coming back at maybe 2 weeks ago to now you're looking at it going, it's maybe 60-40, 50-50 now that he's going to be brought back. I mean, starting looking at the draft right now, CJ Stroud looks sensational. Whenever I watch Ohio State, he just looks on another level. In fact, he looks like he's outplaying the Alabama quarterback right now. And he certainly looks better than Van Dyke and Levis and Richardson and all these other guys that have been thrown around. But yeah, we're not there yet in terms of looking at quarterbacks. But from having probably very little to no chance of coming back, Daniel Jones has now got the ball in his hands. He can now change the narrative. He leads us to the playoffs. I can't see any scenario where he's not coming back, at least for one more year. Because I'd certainly like to see him with some receivers that he likes and with talent. That will be really good. So we've got a lot of work to do. But my God, a rebuilding team with given no hope by anybody, who the NFL had us. What was it? The NFL had us in the power rankings, the worst team in football or the second worst team in football going into the year.
Like us and the Jets were like the worst two.
Yeah, and then Madden had us like ridiculously rated the worst team in football by a distance, and we're 4-1.
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, I can't say enough about this coaching staff. Turning water into wine, miracle workers.
Yes, and one thing you were just talking about the point about Jones and stuff like that. Well, reason why I didn't say for free agency, reason why I talked about the draft is because with that cap money, you might want to start re-signing some of these marquee guys: Andrew Thomas, Xavier McKinney,
Dexter Lawrence.
I would get a lot of those done before we even talk about free agents, because
and Saquon,
yes.
Well, that's one thing Joe Shane does like to do, and what he did a lot in Buffalo. You brought it up before already on stream. He doesn't sign a lot of big free agents.
Mm-hmm.
He'll give out a few small contracts like he did this offseason. He gave very little out in free agency, but he wants to bring back his own guys. And I know he didn't draft McKinney and Lawrence and Thomas, but these are cornerstones. You build around Andrew Thomas. You build around Xavier McKinney. You build around Dexter Lawrence. So he's going to make sure these guys come back. I fully trust Joe Shane will do whatever it takes to get those three specifically here for the rest of their careers.
You know, I was listening to the Giants Insider podcast. It's a really good podcast if anyone hasn't listened to it before. Chris Bisignano was interviewing Saquon Barkley, and he asked him, he said to him, like, this means a lot to you being a New York Giant, doesn't it, Saquon? And he said that Saquon is very much in tune with the history of the franchise, and he wants to be a part of it. He's talked numerous times to Bisignano, apparently, that it means so much to him to be a Giant for life. He wants to be a Giant for life. And it's not even just saying it just for word's sake. He genuinely means it. He watches the history of the franchise. He reads the history of the franchise. He reads the history of quarterbacks, running backs throughout the history of the NFL. He's very much a historian. He's passionate about what he does, and he's passionate about the Giants. And he wants to end his career as a Giant, apparently. And you can see that that's the way he plays on the field. Like, it's definitely not just word salad. Like, he means it. You can see, as Alex points out, in fact, he was charging onto the sidelines and forcing the medical staff to clear him so that he can come back out there and win the game for the team. This man desperately wants to be part of a winning franchise in the Giants, but he wants to end his career at the Giants. I'm now of the opinion that we should be offering him a multi-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, he'll get the franchise tag, which isn't great, but you know, they got to bring him back one way or the other. You can't move on from Saquon because this offense would be nowhere without him.
No, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't even franchise tag him because then we're just putting it forward another year. I want to give him that security if we're obviously just at the moment, if he stays healthy through the year, even if we don't make the playoffs, we win 8 games or whatever, he's more than earned the trust to get some security. For Daniel Jones coming back next year, or a future quarterback, you need someone, as Rob points out, you need someone that could be the focal point of your offense. And Saquon is that, man. He's at the moment, he's the best running back in football, along with Chubb.
Now, let me ask you all this. Obviously, this is still up in the air, and Donald's talked about it, but the chances kind of have increased with this team being winning. Do you guys really think that Daniel Jones would ask for a really big contract? Because I don't think so. I think he's humble.
Yeah, he is humble.
I don't know about big money, but I mean, if he leads us to the playoffs, he's going to ask for something, decent. He's not going to be like, yeah, you guys can sign me for whatever. I just want to be back. So I love that, of course, but he's going to, I would say at least maybe 15 million, maybe a little bit less at the least if he plays well.
Bargain. I think most quarterbacks tend to sign for about 20.
Yeah. So I said
what's Darnold's?
Darnold's still on his rookie contract.
Yeah,
but
he
last year, right?
Yeah, but he was on his 5th year. What's his 5th year option?
I'm going to take a look at that, actually.
That's actually interesting. But what about Baker? Where is he at? Because he was 2 picks.
The reason why I bring these guys up is because usually your agent is going to want to be paid in line with what your numbers are in comparison to other quarterbacks in the league. So Daniel Jones is kind of in the vicinity of being better than obviously Darnold and Baker Mayfield, probably a good distance. He's probably up in the Tannehill level right now. And he's actually playing better than Tannehill, but Tannehill's getting a crazy contract. So probably less than that.
Mayfield right now is earning about $4 million.
Okay.
And Sam Darnold, $18 million.
Right. So I think maybe that's a good point, Rob. Maybe if he gets offered 18, 19 per year, that's definitely not going to break the bank.
You have to at least consider it. If we get to the playoffs, we're out of the running for a quarterback anyway in the draft. Most likely, unless somebody slips. There's so many quarterback needy teams that are going to be in the top of the draft that it probably won't happen. So you might have no choice.
I have something to bring up. So I don't know if y'all seen this graphic on Twitter. I believe it's an ESPN graphic, right? For this was like last week after we won the Bears in the upcoming schedule. For the Packers game, compared to the rest of the season, at least till week 15, they gave us the least percent chance to win. They gave us a 13% chance to win. ESPN did.
13. That has to be like a record.
I think that was shown when Keyshawn Johnson was guaranteeing a loss for us. So
yeah, Keyshawn Johnson also, played for one of the worst franchises. So
yeah, whenever someone guarantees something, you kind of have a feeling that the opposite is going to happen. When you start guaranteeing things and you have no grounds to guarantee anything, because the difference was not that huge. I mean, we all thought it was going to be a 1-score game either way. You know what I mean? I didn't think that there was that much of a disparity. I just thought that maybe, I thought the Giants would maybe win, but there was also a very good chance we were always going to lose because they obviously have more talent than us, but it wasn't massive. Like I love our coaching staff in comparison to theirs. And I think we've got some superior pieces in other areas than they do. And also, they're kind of playing like shit this year, the Packers. And we're playing really fucking well. So I thought it would be a very close game. So the fact that ESPN only gave us a 13% chance is very unfair. And then when you have guys guaranteeing that you're going to lose, it just sounds like desperation. Like you're wishing that to happen rather than any thought behind it. These guys don't watch the games. Like, we all watch every single game. You know what I mean? We're not just watch Giant games. We watch every fucking game. And you get people that are paid handsomely to have these hot takes. And a lot of the time, they're fucking well off because you don't watch the fucking games. Look at the box score.
Yeah.
Colin Cowherd's entire show is based on box score.
Yep.
It's what did you say on the Pinstripe Chronicles the other day? It's the era of the hot take. That's all people want. They want to make the headline. They want to say, look what Keyshawn Johnson said. Look what Nick Wright's dumbass said. Look at all these idiots that get paid to talk sports but know nothing about it. And Keyshawn Johnson, I will give him credit to talk football over Nick Wright any day of the week. But I'm just because Nick Wright's an idiot. I'm just very glad that Keyshawn Johnson was wrong. Because like you said, once you start guaranteeing something, the odds for you to be wrong increase tremendously. Now you're going to look like an idiot when you say, well, we're going to lose the next 4. Well, you were already wrong because you won the first of the 4. So anything else he says about this team doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. He is irrelevant at this point when it comes to his opinion about the Giants. And it's probably going to stay that way. All these people are still going to say, well, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have so-and-so. Well, Daniel Jones had nobody. Okay? I would take Green Bay's receiving core right now over ours any day of the week.
Every single one of them I would take over ours.
So
every single one of them. Lazard,
no more excuses.
Stubbs, I would have over any of our options.
We had a practice squad out there, guys. Literal practice squad. And you put in the word patchwork. You ever have a cut and you put a Band-Aid over it? Instead of taking that Band-Aid off and replacing it, you just put another Band-Aid over it. That was our offense. It was literally just patch Band-Aid after Band-Aid. It's getting dirty. It's nasty under there, but you still patch it up. That's exactly what it was. And it was enough to score 27 points and beat one of the elite teams in the NFC. And there was still not going to get
final narrative. And as you say, they killed the final narrative that, this team is nothing without Saquon. They can't do anything without Saquon. They can't move the ball without Saquon.
They can't beat a team.
When Saquon was out, Daniel Jones led him on a 90-yard drive with some of the worst freaking players that you could imagine. He did it, and he did it with ease, to be honest. And they all played out of their minds. So, yes, Saquon is by far our best player. It's not even close. He's freaking Superman. He did some Superman things out there. But that was the final narrative, that, the Giants are only 3-1 because of one guy. Well, actually, it's a team effort. The whole team came together, man. They showed it today, showed out. And you know what? Also, credit to London. They really put on a hell of a show. It was packed. It was loud.
That cheese up your ass.
And yes, let's talk about that.
I usually don't like a lot of British things, but those British Giants fans were incredible. That video, I've watched it about 17 times already in the past. It is fantastic. Shove that fucking cheese up your ass, and they were just chanting it. I might have to go visit London one day and just give every single one of those fans a high five. It's been our call. It was our calling tonight. I think every Giants fan's probably singing that in their sleep tonight.
Well, as an expat here in the UK, I can tell you that the NFL is big here, and I was telling Rob off screen, I was like, yeah, you'll be very surprised. The NFL is pretty big here, man, and there are a lot of fans. There's a lot of Giant fans here, and but there was also that dude with the long hair who I see in every single Giant draft day and every single Giant game. You know that guy with the long blonde hair?
LPG.
Yeah, LPG.
Yes.
I met him
I
twice.
see him in every single game. It's just so cool. He is like the super fan. I love that. But I saw him in the stands. But no, the Giants fans rocked out. And I think we should all do our British accents to close the show and finish it off with that chant.
Oh, boy.
That was a bloody good win right there.
Yeah.
Shove that fucking cheese up your ass.
That's how, so that was it word for word. Shove that fucking cheese up your ass.
Shove your fucking cheese. Shove your fucking cheese. Shove your fucking cheese up
your
your ass.
And that is going to do it for us here at Nerdin' Out Sports. Big shout out to Alex. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you check him out, Big Blue in the Bronx. Every Monday night, they got the Boys in the Big Apple podcast with Donald and Luca. The Jets fan, who's probably ecstatic right now. The Jets put up 40 points this afternoon. What a day for them. So you can check him out there. And, Giants are 4-1. Can't say it enough. Enjoy it. And let's get ready for the next game against Baltimore. And hopefully we can be 5-1. But let's enjoy this right now. Celebrate as much as you can. And we've got Victory Monday to look forward to tomorrow. So that is going to do it for us here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to everybody in the comments, Giant Opinion Sports and TD. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to see when we go live and the videos are up. Well, that's going to do it once again. Let's go, G-Men. Peace out.
Thank you.
Let's go, Blue. Shove that cheese up your ass.